Welcome back to the podcast of Heal Without Harm. If you're taking your health seriously and looking for answers, then this podcast is for you. This one is going to be primarily around nutrition, as today we have a special guest, Rebekah Morse. She's a certified nutrition coach and also the people operations manager. Fancy way of saying she's the glue that keeps the business together here at Natural Wellness Physiotherapy in Wichita, Kansas. She brings a wealth of experience from her 13-year tenure in public education, but also her personal journey, which she now channels into helping clients achieve sustainable wellness through personalized nutrition and coaching. Beka, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Clayton. It's good to be here.
I'm really happy to have you on selfishly because I've always known that you help people with nutrition, but honestly, I don't even know really what you do with them or how you help them. So part of this will be like, imagine I'm a client of yours and take me through some things, but I want to get right into, well, actually, before we do this, let's talk about qualifications. What is your background as a nutrition coach? And like, where did you go to school for it? What certification do you get? Like, what does the education look like to get to where you are now?
Sure. So, well, I actually was a public educator for 13 years. So there's that piece of my education. But I actually got into nutrition and studied through precision nutrition, which is a certification that anyone can go and get. And I mean, you pay some money, you go through. When I was doing it, it was a large textbook, and I would go chapter by chapter, and you would be quizzed, and you'd have to score a certain number of points after each chapter to move on to the next. Now I'm sure everything is just online, and it's more. They don't print out the hardbound books anymore.
More like a self-guided thing or something.
Yes. I mean, all the content is still there. It's just online. You're looking at it on a screen. I really loved the old school textbook. I got my certification through precision nutrition, and that's all about behavior change, habit changes, coaching people to make those changes. That gives me the title nutrition coach. I like to think of myself as a health and wellness coach because I think when people see nutrition, they're just like, oh, it's just, she's going to tell me what to eat. And there's so much more to our health than that. So nutrition is one piece of it, but also like, are you moving? How are you managing your stress? Are you getting some sleep? All of that stuff goes into it. There are other titles out there too that people call me a nutritionist a lot. That's more of a loose term. And it's not, none of these things aren't really regulated all that much. Anyone could say they're a nutrition coach. I have the certification to back it up. And then there's also a registered dietitian who actually goes to school and gets a degree. And they're going to be able to provide you specific meal plans. If you have, some kind of diagnoses where you need to follow a certain diet, they can make recommendations based around your food and give you actual meal plans. That's out of my scope of practice. And I wouldn't want to do that for people anyway, because typically when you hand someone a meal plan, it's hard to follow.
Yeah.
So what I tend to do is help people when they are told, hey, you've got prediabetes, or you have high cholesterol, or you have your A1C is elevated. We need to figure out how to reduce those numbers. That's where I can come in and help guide people and help them make the changes necessary to help them hit their goals.
Yeah. And I think one thing that I didn't know that your background in the certification included is I think a lot of the times it's not too hard to figure out what you should do in regards of like numbers or how much protein you should eat or what foods are good foods. Don't get me wrong. Social media and the internet can clutter that quite a bit. But most of the time people don't lack knowledge. They lack the know-how to implement. And so I like that your certification includes lifestyle change, behavior change, and things like that. Because usually that's the actual barrier. It's not like, I should probably give up Cheetos. It's like, we all know, like, maybe you shouldn't eat a bag a day. But why can't you give it up? You know, like, what's stopping you? Is that like, that's just the only thing you know how to eat? Or it just makes you super happy? Or why are you digging into that food at 8 o'clock at night? Is it really stressful? And this is what kind of like, increases your dopamine before going to bed? Because when I talk to patients about whether it's exercise or nutrition, whatever, that's usually what I run into. So I appreciate that goes into depth there. So with that background considered, I want to jump right into some questions that I got on social media when I put out a poll of like, hey, what do you guys want to know? We'll go through these as a hot take, and then we'll jump right back into how you actually help clients day to day. But I know I'll forget about these.
Yeah, it sounds fun. Let's do it.
So I'm just going to go one by one. If you're like, yeah, let's not chat about that. Just give me the wink and nod and we'll skip it. But the first one is, are supplements mandatory for a healthy lifestyle?
Ooh, I would say no. I tend to believe that we can get a lot of what our bodies need to live a healthy life and to live a long time from, those basic things I was talking about. Just making sure you're getting the right foods, getting a good variety of nutrients. And so you can get a lot of that from food. The part that gets tricky is our food is not the same as it once was. It's not as high quality. We have a lot more, pesticides, and we have a lot more GMOs, and it's just changed a lot over the years. And so we are typically, as a population, deficient in certain things. And so supplements can definitely be helpful. So some of the main ones that I see are fish oil, because especially here in the middle of the country, like we don't have access to like fresh fish.
Nor is it like part of our normal diet,
right?
Unless you like force it. At least that's my experience.
Absolutely, yeah. You have to make an effort to get fish in your diet, and so fish oil is a big one. Getting those omega-3s, vitamin D a lot of people are deficient in that, and so that's a supplement that I see a lot of people. Their doctors have recommended that for them based on their blood work. I'm thinking of one other one, iron for women. A lot of women are low in iron, it seems. So I do see a lot of that. And so it really depends on you and what you have worked with, the lab results you've gotten from your doctor to see if that's necessary.
Is that when you would, can you recommend supplements with your certification?
I can make general recommendations. I cannot say you need to be taking this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then when would you feel comfortable kind of going down that route of like suggesting that? Would you look for a certain blood lab? Would you just say, what does your doctor say? Because I think that's what a lot of people, they just, like even my wife, she takes like 8 different things, and my head's like, do you actually need all 8, or did you just hear that? Like, when do you can you clear that up for someone on like when to maybe make that purchase?
Sure. I think it's important to have as much data in your pocket as you can. Really kind of, I heard Juliet Starrett say this the other day on a podcast, like look under the hood and see what's going on. And so, actually getting the lab work done to see, okay, do I really need this vitamin D supplement, or is this just like, am I actually getting it from the food I'm getting? And testing it out. And really, I tell people to work with their doctors, look at the numbers, and make educated decisions based on those things.
For sure. Do you have anywhere that if somebody is wanting to get those labs done, do you just say go to your doctor, or do you know of anywhere that someone could go get it just on their own if they wanted to?
Yeah, there are places. I know of one in Wichita. Any Lab Test Now is somewhere you can go. I've had clients who have gone there. A lot of my clients, it seems, at least more recently, are working with functional med doctors and people who can get some really in-depth labs through their, pretty cheaply through whatever lab site that they like. But that's one you can go. You don't have to have doctor's permission to go get, lab tests done, which is kind of cool.
It is, for
I think, because you can go, you're empowered to go do that and get the information that you need to make the best decisions for your health.
For sure. Next one. Should we work out fasted? Yes or no?
Depends on the person.
Okay.
What I understand right now is that men can do this much more easily than women, just based on our hormonal profiles. I follow Dr. Stacy Sims, and a lot of the research that she has done shows that women actually do better if they have something in their system when they're working out and going into strength training sessions or runs or whatever. So a little bit of protein, a little bit of carbohydrate does wonders for women, just because like our bodies kind of freak out a little when we don't have the energy that we need when we start kind of getting into that workout phase. I will say, though, that's probably not true for everybody, but that's kind of where the research is right now. And so, again, it depends on the person. Some people seem to do fine fasted, and others prefer having something. I was recommended, I worked with a dietitian and when I was marathon training because I had no idea. I was like, I know I need to eat more food. I need to figure out the timing of this. And so I was working with someone who was like, have you ever actually eaten before you work out in the morning? Because I'm an early morning person. And she recommended maybe try a banana before you run, or get some oats in, or have a banana before you go into the gym, a little bit of protein shake, and that really it changed how much I could lift. I felt like I could do higher reps, sometimes more weight. And so it just helped my performance a little bit better too. So that's what works for me. So I like to work with people on what's working for them, share with them, like, here's what the research is showing. Let's experiment and see what works for you.
That sounds good. I think I'm reading this question for the first time, so I don't know if I'll get it just right, but what is your take on elimination diets or cutting out whole food groups for a non-allergic reason?
For a non-allergic reason.
So I'm guessing this is somebody experimenting, kind of like you said, like, what works for you. So if someone thinks they've got symptoms or irritations or they respond poorly to a food, like, what is your thought on them doing an elimination diet or simply cutting out, like, I'm going to cut out all of this type of food to see how I respond? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think, again, it kind of depends on the person and their goals. I mean, if somebody came to me and said, I'd like to do a Whole30 and kind of see, am I sensitive to dairy or grains or, added sugars and things like that. And they feel like this is something I really want to get some clarity around in my diet. I want to know how food affects me. I would say, okay, let's try it. And I would make sure I would talk with them a lot about it and kind of see, like, okay, is this realistic for you right now? Is this what's going to get in the way of trying an elimination diet? Because it is pretty intense. I mean, it sounds
intimidating to me.
It takes a lot of planning. It takes a lot of thought and energy, but it's possible. I don't think everybody needs to do an elimination diet. I think for the most part, people can, generally speaking, eat pretty balanced meals and make sure they're getting enough food, getting the right amount of food, the right types of food, and they'll be okay. But if somebody has that goal and they want to, see how food affects them, then absolutely, let's figure it out.
I think another thing too is, like, in PT, we always said that, do you need all the right testing to figure out which muscle is wrong or which muscle is having the issue if the treatment's going to be the same, kind of regardless of the diagnosis? And so my question to carry that line of thinking over to this is, like, okay, so let's say you do the elimination diet and you find out, like, man, I should really cut out all dairy. Like, can you cut out all dairy? Like, is that a realistic lifestyle choice for you? And would you actually follow that? Like, what information would you get from these results? And would you let that actually change your lifestyle? Because I think for me, I know me, I'm stubborn and I like my foods. So I don't know if, like, it would be a waste of time for me unless it's just like an extremely big difference. I'd be like, right, yeah, I'm probably still going to eat the Cheetos, or I'm still going to drink the milk. So does the result of the research actually help you or not, would be a question that I would kind of play with.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that also depends on the individual.
Absolutely.
I know I've done a Whole30. I've done it a couple of times in my life. And I found that if I, have a glass of milk, or if I eat some not so high quality ice cream, dairy products, like, it's like, oh, I feel that. Yeah. And so, like, for me, it's like, I'm going to steer away from those things. I'm not going to include them every day, but every now and then I'll have them, and it probably won't be a major consequence. It's not going to be life disrupting. So it's okay. But I think it does help you kind of shape, like, this food makes me feel good. This food doesn't really. So I'm going to reduce that quite a bit in my diet. And it can really help people, for sure.
And then you can weigh that, like, oh yeah, we're going to go get ice cream. It's totally worth it. Even if my tummy hurts a little bit later, like, totally fine, because it's
I'll just order a smaller portion and it'll be okay.
Which actually rolls into our next one. So David Acal with David Acal Training said, agree or disagree? Eating McDonald's every now and then as an athlete won't hurt you.
Oh, I agree.
Cool. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Moving on. You kind of already gave the reasoning on it. So a couple more here, and then we'll kind of talk about some of the myths that you've seen in your practice that we can try to debunk. Next one also from David Acal, which, by the way, the first three were from holiste.co. Anyway, and a half is who
Yeah.
it's from. So these last two are from David still. What nutrition advice do you have for youth athletes? If you want me to give specifics, I can pick an age, but like, what's your general nutrition advice for a kiddo?
Yeah. Make sure that you're eating food throughout the day. And I'm speaking from my own kids' experience right now. I have a 15-year-old and a 13-year-old, and they play sports. And the hardest thing right now is just making sure, like, hey, especially when school was in, they'd eat breakfast at home. They would eat lunch at like 11 a.m., right? And then sometimes it was, okay, you finish the day of school, you go to volleyball practice, and then you go to cheer practice, and you're not home until 7:00 at night. Like between 11 and 7, you've got to have a plan. Like,
That's
what are
some
you
people's
going?
entire fasting, time, 8 hours.
Yeah, but that's a long time to
is.
go, and kids need more calories. I mean, especially active kids, right? So they're growing, and their brains are having to work hard during the day. They need energy, and so making sure that your kids have snacks on them, making sure athletes especially are getting some food before they go into those practices. I know a lot of kids are so involved in school sports and then club sports, and just their day is packed. And if they're not eating enough, their performance is going to suffer. They're not going to play like they want to. They might get a little cranky.
Yeah.
We talk about that a lot with our kids, just educating them on, you have to have energy if you want to feel good and show up the way you want to.
For sure. What are some like snacks that you like to provide for your kids or that you'd recommend? Because when I think, if I'm a kid, eat lunch, like you said, 11 a.m., don't eat dinner until 7. Hopefully it's a good dinner. But when I talk to youth athletes that come through my door, sometimes it's like, oh, we're grabbing this food from this restaurant because I've got 20 minutes between this practice and that practice. So let's say you do get a good dinner, but like when I think of grab and go snacks, most of the time it's packaged items.
Yeah.
Fruit snacks. Maybe it's fruit, maybe it's a meat stick, maybe it's cheese and crackers. Like, what are some ones that you notice that you tend to have with your family? 3 to 5 ones that you kind of just always have on hand to provide them, or like throw in their backpack or something like that.
Yeah. I like to have, the stuff that goes in their backpack can be challenging because they don't always like to carry a cooler.
Yeah, exactly.
But like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich is a really easy one, or some kind of wrap that requires some refrigeration. I love making like little peanut butter bites, peanut butter oats, and
like the balls,
little
like
honey.
peanut butter
Yeah.
balls. Yeah.
And my kids love those. Fresh fruit, portable fruit, apples, bananas, string cheese, trail mix, stuff like that. Granola bars, Cliff bars, anything that they're willing to eat. That's the thing. I used to pack snacks and hope they would eat them, and they would get home at the end of the day and it'd just be mush in the bottom of their backpacks. And so now that they're older and they kind of understand that they need to eat a little more, I like to have conversations with them about, what do you want to have? What will you actually eat? Grapes are another one that are really portable, and they like those. Cuties, stuff like that. So,
but it goes back to, like you said, we know we should.
We know we should.
But will we do it?
Yes.
I mean, it's the same thing you do with your clients, right? Like, hey,
yeah.
I keep giving you all this stuff. Like, they didn't have to work for it, and yet they don't eat it. So then, like, again, where's the barrier? What's stopping you?
Yeah.
Like, well, I don't like that food.
And that's the most important thing that I've learned from working with people is you have to meet them where they are, and you have to let them explain what is the next best step. They have to figure it out. I can definitely offer all those suggestions, but what is more helpful for people is when I ask a lot of questions, and the idea is like they know what they need to do and they generate how to make it happen. What's this next little step that you can do? What's realistic for you? Because again, I'm going to give you all these snacks and you're not going to eat them. What will you eat?
Yeah.
And I'll go buy those and then we'll have them. Yeah.
I will make that part easier for you.
Yes.
Last question. This was submitted by someone else named, I think, Carolyn. She said, what are your thoughts on women taking creatine?
Oh, yeah. I am for it, especially women who are in their perimenopausal and menopausal years. What I've learned about that from Stacy Sims and from other people in the menopause space, like Dr. Mary Claire Haver, is that it actually is super helpful for women. we have to do everything we can to fight muscle loss. And so creatine is it's one of the safest supplements out there. It's easy to throw into a shake or a bowl of yogurt or oatmeal and get it in every day.
Cool. Sounds good. Do you know, I know we talked a little bit before this on numbers. What's a normal like dosage that's recommended when it comes to creatine? Are you
I want to
familiar
say
with it?
five. I don't know if it's milligrams.
It'd be 5 grams.
5 grams.
Is my
Yeah.
understanding as well.
Yeah.
So, and I think I've been seeing more research coming out where they're exploring the benefits different than just muscle, actually cognitive and things like that, because the brain uses creatine for energy and things like that. And so they're even exploring higher dosages in what they do. I saw one study they did like 20 to 30 gram dosage for certain reasons to kind of see how that would change things. And there's a big boost in cognitive benefits. Now that's not been studied long term, right? The most studied portion is 5 grams a day over, however long you want to take it. But they're starting to explore a little bit more on how much you could take, what that does to the body. Is there any other side effects kind of on the background? But those were all of our hot take questions that I wanted to make sure we got to.
Yeah.
Now, moving on, you alluded to it just a little bit. I don't want to spend a ton of time on this necessarily, but what is a nutrition coach? What is a nutritionist? What is a dietitian? When would someone need, or how do they pick? Like, what are we looking at? Because I know if I don't understand it that well and I work with you 5 days a week, like, why would, somebody just scrolling on socials know the difference?
Sure.
How would you explain that? And then how do we pick which one we want?
Well, yeah, a nutrition coach is going to be somebody who is going to kind of walk alongside you and ask a lot of questions. And hopefully, I mean, that's what I do with people. Ask a lot of questions, get really curious, meet somebody where they are, find out what their goals are, and then help give them the structure and support they need to get from point A to point B. So helping them like really dig deep into, why is this your goal? What's getting in the way of that goal? What are some things you already know you want to do that will help you reach that goal? Like really digging into the behavior change side of things, and putting some actionable steps out there and trackable steps, things that you can say, yep, I did that today, or no, I didn't do that today, to get you to where you want to be. A nutritionist, I think, like I said earlier, it's kind of a looser term. There are people who have referred to me as a nutritionist. I don't typically say, no, that's not what I do, because it's such a loose term. And I think it just depends on certain regions can call people that, others can't. I don't know what the rule is in Kansas. And then a dietitian is someone typically in a hospital. If someone is sick and has a diagnosis, they will, there's more to it than this, but just one example of people who I see talking to dietitians that I come in contact with, they find out, oh, I'm diabetic. And so I have to meet with the dietitian at the hospital, and she's telling me, here's the diet you need to follow if you want to, make this better.
Seems more like sciencey and specific and almost kind of medicinal in the fact that your body needs these specific nutrients. We researched you in particular, and here's the specific things you need. Here's some ways you can get those in. But then it sounds like that would be the basis that you would maybe base things off of. But then someone like yourself as a nutrition coach is okay, well, here's how we're going to actually implement that into daily life for long sustainable habit.
Exactly. They're there to say, and there are some dietitians who do have the coaching certifications too, right? So they have both the kind of in-depth sciencey side of it and the behavioral side of it, which I think is a really cool combination.
Oh yeah. Sure.
But not everybody does. Some dietitians don't have that, and it's what I've heard from some of the people who do come and work with me are, well, this is what they told me I need to do. I don't even know where to start.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm here to talk to you, because this is very overwhelming and I need help just starting and figuring out how do I even go to a low sugar, high fiber, high protein diet? I don't know what that means.
What is
right?
fiber? Where do I get these
exactly.
foods?
So that's where I can kind of help jump in and guide and steer them in the right direction.
Cool. Let's go into in this next bout. I was asking you what are some things that you wanted to focus on with our conversation, and one of them was talking about consistency over quick fixes. It's something I've observed in PT, I've observed in exercise, I've observed in nutrition, and even into social media. Somebody I just followed on TikTok, she's a cardiothoracic surgeon that's actually quitting because she's just kind of over it, to put it very shortly. And she's collecting a lot of followers fairly quick, but she was saying like, I would love to have a big audience. And I remember I said, honestly, it doesn't really matter. It does matter quality of content, but if anything, it's like, get ready to post pretty much every day forever, right? And so usually I've observed it's not what can you do in the next couple of weeks, but it's what can you do today that you can keep doing tomorrow. In my experience. And so I would love for you to speak on that. Like, let's go with like, why are people always looking for quick fixes? And then if you have that person walk through your door, how do you get them to slowly adopt like more of a long-term view?
Yeah. Well, I think humans just want something quick. Like we have short attention spans. We don't want to have to work super hard to get what we want. And so that's just, I think, human nature. But yeah, helping somebody actually go from wanting to get a quick fix to, oh, this is what it actually takes to make a change. It's a lot of that is conversation and asking questions. And what I've found is the people who do come into, to a nutrition consult who are like, I just need you to tell me what to eat, educating them on and helping them understand like, okay, how has it worked for you in the past to, when someone has handed you a meal plan and you've done like, a 28-day challenge where you've followed a specific meal plan. How's that gone for you? Well, I usually get through a couple weeks and I do really good. And then I fall back and I go into old patterns and I eat all the things. And, they kind of start thinking about, well, that hasn't gone well for me in the past. And then we talk about, well, what if we did something different? And instead of me telling you what to eat, which I can't really do anyway, what if we started with what you like to eat? And then we actually looked at where you're starting, and we look at where you should be based on like calories, macros, and start making changes to get you to that point so that it feels sustainable. You don't have to restrict everything in your diet. You don't have to follow a structured meal plan. You can have options, and you can start to eat more intuitively, knowing that you're hitting kind of these targets without having to track everything in an app and count all the things. And people tend to kind of want, yeah, that actually sounds really good. I didn't know that was a thing.
I didn't know that was an answer.
Because especially women, I'm finding women in their 40s, 50s, 60s, like we've been programmed to think we just have to be on a diet all the time. We have to not eat anything really.
Eat less, move more.
Eat less, right? Move more, burn more calories.
Do more cardio.
Yes.
Do more crunches.
Yes. And so just letting people know like there's, there are other ways to approach this. It's kind of a cool thing when people see that and go, yeah, that sounds really great. That's what I've been wanting, but I didn't even know that's what I've been wanting.
For sure. What are some of the gaps that you'll usually see when you have these conversations? Like, I mean, I've had people where they come in, they're like, I eat 5 protein bars a day, or like, I only eat one meal, but it's usually like a huge meal and then a whole pint of ice cream. And it's just like, some of the stuff that like, in our field, like we know what we should do. We generally follow our own advice at least 50% of the time. But then you'll hear some like kind of crazy stories of like how people eat, what they think is good, what they think is not good. And so what are some common patterns that you've observed in people's diets that there's huge gaps where it's like, oh, by the way, if you just drink water every morning, or like, this huge lever that you can pull, like what are some patterns that you've observed working with people when it comes to gaps in their diets?
Yeah. One of the things that I hear a lot from people, and this is men and women, is that they tend to be good all day. And then in the evenings after work, they get home and it's like, I just can't stop eating and I want to eat the whole house. And so one of the things that we do right away is we try and even out their day a little bit. If they've been skipping breakfast and they're going crazy in the evenings and eating everything, you know what? Actually, research shows that if you have a good, solid breakfast that's really protein rich, and you eat some protein and good fiber throughout the day, you're less likely to have those binges and those cravings at night. And so spacing, just meal timing is huge. That changes the game for a lot of people. Water is another one. Just low energy throughout the day. I just can't seem to get things done that I want to get done, and I just don't have the energy. Well, how much water are you drinking? Well, I mostly drink coffee, all day long. And so starting to just make sure, okay, with that cup of coffee, you're also having a glass of water, and eventually like getting to a point where they're drinking enough water to actually be hydrated and feel good. So yeah.
I would like to challenge you a little bit on the eating a bigger breakfast.
Yeah.
So I'm someone who in the mornings, I used to just fast until lunch, mainly out of convenience. And then I realized that like if I'm going to be working out in the morning, I should probably give myself some protein. And so I would play around with whether it's a protein shake, a protein bar, or even I really enjoyed eating the overnight oats. However, what I observed was it didn't change my eating habits from 6 o'clock on. I was still eating the normal amount. So I was like, well, now I'm just eating way more calories. It felt like. And since my goal is a little bit of fat loss at the time, I've now reduced it down to where it's either a protein bar or a protein shake, and that's generally it. I've noticed when I run, as opposed to weightlift, I'm more hungry on those days, and so I'll usually have to eat a little bit more. But in my observation, when I've eaten a bigger breakfast, I don't necessarily have any more willpower in the evening, and I still want to eat the whole house.
Yeah.
So is that something that takes a week, a couple weeks? Is it like what am I doing wrong, or why do I feel like that research doesn't apply to me? I guess is my question.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes it's a mental thing. Okay. It's a mental block, and it's like, if I don't feel like this is really going to help me, then it's not going to help me. If you're not 100, if you're not bought in to it, then sometimes the change is hard.
At least for me, and this will go back into how would you handle this if I was your client, kind of thing. And hopefully my my problems resonate with some of the listeners, and they can learn from my problems. But what I also observed was after my girls went to bed, usually around 8 o'clock, I felt like I was supposed to eat. I don't think I was necessarily hungry. So I feel like that may be why I'm bypassing that. I'm not hungry later, but I still want to eat. It seems more like a cue. And so I think it goes back to more habit type of thing, or habit, I think, is cue, action, reward, right? And so if I told you that as a client, like, hey, I don't think I'm actually hungry at this time. I just really want to eat something salty, or I really want to eat blah, blah, blah. What have been some recommendations you've provided clients to help with that type of struggle?
Well, I would definitely want to dig more into it and like ask more questions around it from you. But some of the things that have been helpful are to, if you had like, okay, so just as an example, let's say you're going and you're like, well, it's my cue. The kids are in bed. It's my time. I'm having the bowl of ice cream or whatever.
Yeah.
Or yours is probably
it's
crunchy, salty, right? Yeah. But a lot of people are like, I'm going for the sweets. I'm going, So you could start with, okay, if you feel like this is a real issue and you want to change it, you have to be motivated to change it. What could we replace that with that's going to be a little bit different, a little bit healthier for you, maybe not going to be so calorically dense? That's an option, is having a replacement.
Okay. Still getting to eat, but just a different food.
Still having something, but not feeling so, maybe it's not so indulgent, right?
Yeah.
The other thing is to kind of set a guideline. I don't like to tell people to make rules about food. I think that can get borderline disordered eating. We don't need to have rules necessarily, but giving yourself some guidelines, even temporarily, like, hey, for the next couple of weeks, what if you said at 7 o'clock, the kitchen's closed. I don't eat after 7. And you track that and see how well you can do for 14 days. See how that feels for you. If you can do that and you're like, you know what, I actually feel okay. I don't need to eat. And maybe there were some hard days in there where you're like, I just want the chips, right?
Yeah.
But you kind of fought through it, and maybe you replaced it with something else, or you had some water or some tea. I like hot tea in the evenings. But yeah, finding, like, setting some guidelines for yourself, and experimenting, like, what if I don't eat? Like what, and then actually seeing if that makes any change for you. That can be really helpful, just in kind of like showing you that it's possible.
Yeah.
To not have to snack at that time.
So I want to see, thank you, by the way. And I could keep going because I've already went down that path, and my results were, wow, I lost weight like I wanted, mainly fat loss. But man, am I sad in the evenings. It's weird. It's like this disappointment, mild depression of like, oh, I really wanted to eat.
Yeah.
But when I wake up the next morning, I'm like, man, I'm proud of myself.
I'm glad I didn't.
And I'm usually down a pound compared to like normal. And then if I can hold that, I'm good. But it's like, I don't know if I need to hold it longer, set a goal further out. But it's like, it's almost like the pleasure of the eating still somewhat outweighs the pleasure of like being proud of myself and like, battling that. And so that's been my challenge there.
I would challenge you to think of other things that bring you pleasure that you could do during that time that wouldn't be associated with eating. Mm-hmm. So what are some other things that you like to do? Like,
so far I've replaced it with time in bed with my wife, reading and watching a show, a walk with a friend, or catching up on like social media type stuff, more on putting out content as opposed to consuming.
Yeah,
but one real big thing, hopefully this also helps people, is it kind of goes back to creating somewhat of a rule, is like I'm not really allowed to sit on the couch, because I've found like that's the biggest cue is when I sit on the couch in front of the TV, all hell breaks loose. Yeah. To where if I can go to bed, or if I can kind of stay busy in the house where I can go outside on a walk, it's like the cue never shows up of my brain saying like, hey, you should go grab those chips. Yeah. Along with just not having Cheetos, Doritos, and stuff like that available. Like we are purposeful in not buying it, because otherwise if I buy it, I will consume it. Yep. So I've noticed that staying away from the couch at that time period makes it significantly easier. So it's almost like I make a pre-decision to avoid having to make the hard one and failing at it ultimately.
That's awesome. Yes.
So moving on into, is there anything else you want to talk about in regards to consistency over quick fixes? Is there any other thoughts that you have?
Oh, I just, I see so many influencers and people who are just trying to sell you something a lot of times. I see it. I used to see it more. I'm not on Facebook as much because I learned that it was just not good for my mental health. Yeah. But I used to see it a lot more where people were sharing things like, hey, buy this thing and it's going to help you lose 10 pounds in the next 2 weeks. Just lots of those quick fix kinds of things that I knew and I've always known are not sustainable. And I'll say I've always known, but that's not true. I would give into these things a lot when I was younger, when I was in my 20s, and and
they're great marketers. It's
really hard, and it's good marketing. Yeah. There's just so much out there. And just, I just would encourage people to just question everything and ask, okay, is this something that is sustainable? Like, do I really want to take a pill for the rest of my life?
That's the big question. I feel like, could I do this in 6 months? Could I still be doing this? Do I want to still be doing this?
Yeah.
6 months, a year, 2 years. I think that's a good lit.
Yes.
To push it.
Yeah. And I think we just need to question more and not just but it's really hard when you're feeling, I know that feeling so well, when you're just like, I've got 15 pounds I want to lose, and I feel like I'm doing all the things and I don't have time to do other things. And, you're just overwhelmed and you just want something that will help. I totally understand that feeling. But just try and pause and think about what is actually good for me. Yeah. To help me be still healthy when I'm 80 years old. Like I know around here we all have goals. Like we want to live a long, healthy life. I want to go hike when I'm 80. I want to still be climbing mountains and being active with my family. And I know that taking this little thing here that might help me, lose a little weight or whatever isn't going to serve that goal. And so I think it comes back to understanding, what do you really want? Why do you want it? And what's actually going to help you get to the real goal? Like really digging deep into your why.
You have to like work through the thought process.
Yes.
Which I think is what's so important, like you said, with the questions. Yes. And even every question I've asked you so far today, you're like, well, it depends. And it's like, it really does though. Yeah. Because it depends on what is the thought process that person is going through.
Absolutely.
Next category, embracing imperfection. Progress over perfection is something that you mentioned. And so I'm kind of just curious your thoughts when you wrote that down. I think we all strive for perfection in a way, but it sounds like we don't have to be, and we can still get where we want. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah.
When it comes to that?
I was thinking, well, this is something that I've had to work on a lot for myself personally. I think little girls are often trained to kind of like want to be perfect and do everything right and get the gold stars. It's not just girls, it's guys too. But a lot of the females that I've worked with, a lot of people in my circle, I know, like we talk a lot about this, like we have very high expectations and standards for ourselves. So sometimes when it comes to nutrition, we think if we're not all in and doing like eating perfectly, then we're not doing it right. And so there's a lot of all or nothing thinking that comes in. And so what I like to help my clients do is understand that you don't have to eat perfectly. You want to leave room for some of those things that you love, like the ice cream or the chips, right? Like leave room in your diet for those. It shouldn't be like an everyday thing all the time, but finding space for those things and enjoying them is really important for your mental health, for your physical health too, I think. But we can't expect to like try and eat only whole foods and perfect macros and all of that and still be sane and live a healthy life and be happy with have community and all of that. There's going to be things that pop up and too many times we let perfection just get in the way of us just being consistent.
Yeah, for sure. So what are your thoughts on like the 80-20 rule or the 80-20 kind of approach?
I think I try to follow that as much as possible. And we try and demonstrate that. Courtney and I try and demonstrate that for our kids to show them like, here's kind of our go-tos, our normal eating, but we're also like, he took them out for ice cream yesterday because they had great report cards, right?
Yeah.
And that could go into a whole thing about rewarding kids with food, right?
That's what I feel like is like the current headlines of all of my social medias is like, is rewarding your kids more of a problem or a solution? I'm like, gosh dang it, can we stop like just analyzing every little thing?
I know.
So am I just not supposed to celebrate them? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. I think, again, it kind of comes back to some guidelines. When you're first starting, trying to eat healthy, like just telling yourself, okay, most of these, like 6 out of 7 days this week, I'm going to be pretty good. I'm going to try and hit my protein target. I'm going to try and get vegetables in, right? For that meal on Sunday where I'm out with my friends, I'm going to eat whatever I want and enjoy it and have a good time, right? Like just being able to just understand that you don't have to be perfect to be healthy and to, get in the way of your progress. So just...
Let me put you on another like hot seat question. What are your thoughts on cheat days?
I think those can be helpful for some people. Not everyone. It kind of depends on like where, like your view of it and what your goal is with it. For some people, it's helpful because it's structure. It's like, okay, I'm going to kind of stick to my calorie targets and my macros for the whole week. And then, Saturday, like I've done cheat days before. Yeah. And it seemed to be okay for me for a while. That was an okay kind of guideline for me until it became my cheat day was like, okay, it's Saturday, but hey, Friday night is almost Saturday and Sunday morning is still kind of Saturday, right? Like it kind of started expanding out. I was like, okay, this is not what I need to be doing. I need to rethink, right? So I think it depends on the person and where they're at.
I want to go a little off script because it's bringing in some more questions for me. So there's one guy I follow. He has nothing to do with nutrition. It's more business and personal development stuff. But he brought up one thing that I kind of started adopting and I really like. May not be the most healthy, but I think it currently works for me. After I tell you about this and ask your opinion, I'll ask a follow-up question on it.
Okay.
And so what he said, he's like, I eat really good Monday through Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday, I even do quite well, like fairly strict. But again, he's a high-level entrepreneur, so it's a very systemized life, it seems like he lives. But what he said is every Friday night with his kids, I think they were probably 10 to 15. They're in that sweet spot of not young, but not old either. He said, we'll go out for pizza and then I will just eat until I'm almost sick in regards of pizza and ice cream. He said that what I like about this is it lets me indulge once a week so I can kind of go all out. The next morning or that night, the next morning I almost feel sick. So it's almost like a penalty for eating all that bad food, which helps kind of like get me back on track for the next 6 days. Mm-hmm. And I think some people, when they talk about calories for the week, that may offset and all that kind of stuff and blah, blah, blah of the science. But I was like, that's something I think I could get behind because I know sometimes when people hold willpower for 5 or 6 days and it's like they unload and just everything gets disrupted. But if you kind of build that in and then also get this like negative reinforcement of like, this is why you don't overeat, dummy. It kind of reinforces you to get back on track the next day. And so I've somewhat adopted that. Lately we've been on vacation, so it's disrupted it a bit. But that was one that I was like, I can kind of follow this because I can hold back, unload, and then kind of go back into it.
Yeah.
In general, what are your thoughts on that?
I know. So I'm just thinking through my own personal experience, like that those times when you do overindulge and you feel sick, I like to think of those as, okay, that's my reminder. That's why I don't eat like that most of the time. So if that's something that is serving you well, go for it.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think too, like if I were to do that every week and feel that once a week, I wouldn't like that so much. And I think it would remind me that, I don't necessarily, I'm going to go have pizza. I'm only going to have a couple of slices and not stuff myself. I'm still going to enjoy the pizza and enjoy what this is. This is a tradition with me and my kids, right? Like that's what it's all about. And kind of try and remind myself of why are we doing this? And do I really need to gorge myself? Probably not, you know?
Yeah.
Just kind of thinking through it a little more, like, is this really serving me well? And maybe it is. And if it is, go for it. If it's not, then maybe consider changing something.
I like that. This goes into the next one. This is something that frustrates me, whether it be nutrition or just business stuff or lifestyle stuff, is I found that if I put my focus on something, I want to optimize it, systemize it, and then kind of set it and forget it, move on. Because it's like, cool, I already fixed that issue. That shouldn't be an issue anymore.
Yeah.
I have noticed when it comes to like lifestyle, whether it be working out and or nutrition, but we'll keep it on nutrition since this is what we're talking about. Do you oftentimes, if you're seeing somebody over a long period of time, that they find a system that works, that it truly works? It's not a crash diet. It like really works. And then it kind of just stops working and they have to like find something new? Or have you noticed that with yourself as well? Because like this system, like I just told you about, like works and then it's like, man, that's not working anymore. Like, why is it not working? Like, is that normal for things to kind of just consistently evolve and you always have to find new systems or new plans?
Yeah, absolutely. We get bored. We get so bored with the same old. That happens a lot. And so when that happens, where you're just like, I can't do that anymore. Okay, it's kind of like, okay, well, let's dig into why. Okay, well, I need something different. I don't want to eat the same thing for lunch every day. Because I kind of have that system too, where I've kind of put things on autopilot, like, okay, spring mix and some chicken and some veggies and some oils and, whatever for lunch, like easy, no thinking is required, right? But there are times where it's kind of like, okay, that's a little stagnant. Like I need to do something else. And so go and experiment with that other stuff and bring it in and try to change it up a bit and see what sticks. A lot of times you do eventually kind of come back to this thing that was working for you that you kind of forget about.
Yeah. It's like you have to go off the rails for a sec.
Oh yeah. I did used to do that and that was really good for me, so that's normal.
So moving on, one that you mentioned before is fiber. And so I'll ask kind of like, what is fiber? Why do we need it? And have you give us a little bit of background on that. And then after that, my next question will be, what are some guardrails that you'll put up in your life, in your nutrition habits or that you provide for clients? And if you want some examples, I can kind of give you an idea of where my mind is going with that question. But let's first start with fiber, because I've been hearing more 20 and 30-year-olds these days are getting colon cancer and stuff like that, which the prediction is that we're eating a lot more processed foods, a lot less fiber. And so the colon is kind of taking the brunt of it. And so in general, how would you describe what is fiber and why does our body need it?
Fiber is something that helps us feel more satisfied. It helps us stay regular. In
regards to bowel movements.
Yes, in regards to bowel movements. And a lot of times the foods that contain fiber also have lots of other micronutrients that our bodies need to function well. And so, it's been something that a lot of people, and when I'm looking at people's food journals, like we're low in fiber. We're not getting a lot of fruits and vegetables in our diets, and other, there are other forms of it also, like certain grains and things like that. But it's something that we need to feel good and function well, and be healthy long term. And so a lot of people, I think when they find out they're low in fiber, they go straight to a supplement. There are so many foods that people could be putting into their diet where they wouldn't really need that supplement. And
if you look at your own diet, what are some foods that you know are more rich in fiber that you generally consume?
Yeah. Berries, blueberries and strawberries, pumpkin seeds, beans, some whole grain bread, sometimes those high fiber wraps are good options.
Oh, like the tortilla itself?
Avocado is a good source of fiber.
I did not know that.
Those are some that off the top of my head. But yeah, just fruits and vegetables and apples and I mean a lot of fruits and vegetables just have a lot of fiber, or at least a good dose of fiber. And if you put enough of those into your day, then you can add up to quite a bit.
Oh man, I lost it. Who cares? Moving on. You talked earlier about blood labs. What can, let's say somebody's consuming like literally less than 5 grams of fiber a day, and then you're like, hey, we should ramp this up. You help them and they start consuming 20 to 25 grams on average, slowly tapered up so the gut doesn't hate them.
Exactly.
So they start consuming 20, 25 grams a day. What could you expect to possibly see in blood labs? Like how is it going to carry over into like what they're seeing there? At least just what the research says.
That's a good question. I don't know the exact answer, like exactly what you could see. But I typically, what I hear from people is that they feel less bloated. They just feel better in their kind of their gastrointestinal area. I think fiber can help with, if you're eating more fruits and vegetables and less of the processed things, it can help with all kinds of things on your labs. But I would think your A1C and cholesterol and all of those things can be impacted.
Perfect. Okay, moving on to what my follow-up question was going to be. I think I had already mentally lost it. I told you I was going to ask about fiber. Oh, guardrails.
Yeah.
So for me, I've observed that in the morning, like I told you, I reduced it down to I essentially have a protein shake in the mornings because that's low calorie but high protein to help recover from my workouts. I generally still work out fasted. I've seen no negative consequences so far. So for right now, it works for me.
Yeah.
Lunch, I'll meal prep every single day. And I realize that I always like to snack on the drive home. I could either grab a snack from here or 3, or I could put fruits in there. So I've started eating apples and little cutie clementines on the way home. And then I'll usually be able to have a little bit bigger dinner. And so that's what I've kind of built to work for me.
Yeah.
And then I realize I don't eat a ton of veggies. And so I usually always try to pair some sort of green beans. Peas are usually my big go-to in the evenings with my family, but I'll also do stuff like zucchini. Those are kind of the guardrails I've put up. And I know that you've been around this for a bit, but then also you're trying to instill this in your kids, but you also try to enjoy your time, when you go out for a gravel race. And I know you and Courtney like to drink beer and stuff, which, people will be like, what? You do that? It's like, you still live a life, right?
Yeah.
So what are some guardrails, 2 or 3 things that you've done for yourself that you'll do as a family and or you'll do for your kids to kind of just always stay somewhat on track? Still live that imperfect life.
Yeah.
But still go on the path that you want to go.
Yeah.
What have you found?
Oh, that's a good question. One of the things that we've told our kids for forever is, hey, make sure you get some protein in your breakfast. When you have breakfast, it's not just a bowl of cereal. You're going to eat some eggs, or you're going to have, sausage or something to go along with that, just to get some protein to start the day. So that's something we try and make sure that there's protein at every meal. I think too, for me, one of the things that has helped me tremendously is just having things that are good for us, that we know serve our bodies well, ready to grab. Having some veggies cut up, having some chicken in the fridge ready to go to throw into a wrap or on a salad or whatever, into a dish for the kids to make. If they're at home and they're making their own lunch, they've got some protein to throw in. Just having things available is really important. Just the experiment of, like, last night, I got home from the store and I had washed some strawberries, set them on the counter to kind of dry out before I put them in the fridge. And half the container was gone because they were there. Like, just setting things out, having healthy options available, people are going to eat them because it's available, it's easy, they don't have to think about it, right?
And then it looks enticing.
And
right?
yes,
Like if you put the strawberries in the bottom back drawer, like
right,
get ready for some mold, right? But
exactly,
if you have them out on the counter, you're like, huh, that looks tasty. Those actually
exactly.
sound kind of good. Next thing you know, everybody's eating 6 of them, and you're like, well, guess I'm going back to the store.
Yeah. Yeah. So having that stuff available. And I think getting some movement in our day too, that's something that we really try and make sure that our kids are seeing. We're trying to set a good example for them. And so they see that and they often opt to go on a walk with us or go or even just go to the gym. Henry's old enough, he can drive now, and
Yes.
he's going to the gym and doing his own thing. So I think just being active and trying to eat well as often as you can.
For sure.
Those are the
It
things.
seems like it kind of all starts at the grocery store on what you buy or don't buy.
Mhm.
And I've also known that, me being a parent of a 2 and a 4-year-old, I get all the parenting Instagram reels and TikToks and stuff. And a huge one is only make visually available to your kid what you would want them to eat, right? If you put Cheetos, Doritos, and Oreos all along, their eye level, 3
Right.
feet off the ground, that's going to be what they're going to consistently go to. But if you want them to eat all healthy foods, then you put those at their disposal. And so for us, if you look in our fridge, there's like a couple like low spots because we have like a top bottom type fridge where there's yogurt, cheese sticks. They like turkey pepperoni as well right now. And then Elena like loves carrots, which is cool. And so those are like very easily, if they can reach up and open the fridge, or even if I open it and they're like, can I have that? I'm like, grab it. It's right there.
Yeah.
And so why not treat ourselves the same way?
Yeah.
And like you said, making the good foods available, because everybody generally likes to eat some sort of fruit, veggie, or cheese stick or something. But are you actually purchasing that from the store? Because if you're
Right.
not purchasing that from the store and it's not in your house, then why would you expect yourself to eat it?
Yeah. Oh, and some people are purchasing it from the store, but then it just sits in the drawer and rots, like you were
Yeah,
saying.
exactly.
Like it's not ready to go, because who wants to spend, like when I'm standing there at 7 a.m. trying to pack a lunch for the day, I don't want to have to chop up a cucumber and some peppers. Like I
Exactly.
need it to just be easy to grab and throw in, right? So you've got to do a little bit of work.
Yeah.
Like, spend an hour on a Sunday if you can, just getting some food ready so it's accessible.
And make it a thing, right?
Yes.
Because like I know what I've found, and I've done this I remember I was counting the weeks, like I've done this for 4 weeks, and I think it's been like months now. But it's every Sunday. At some point in time, it takes me 1 hour to make an entire like meal prep for the week. And it's usually 6 meals. So I'll eat that for lunch on Sunday, and then my meals Monday through Friday. And my wife now is like, hey, like, have you had time to meal prep today?
Mhm.
It's like, I've done it so much, she now makes sure I have time for it, and I never asked. I mean,
Yeah.
it just became such a thing.
Yeah.
And so, while the water is boiling or while that thing is cooking, go ahead and just take those carrots and like, chop them up with a cucumber and chop them up. And
Yes.
once you do that for like just a week or two, then it becomes, your family's depending on that.
Yeah.
And so then it's like, hey, if you want, like, come do it with me. Now you have somebody holding you accountable to it, because, Elena's gonna be like, Dad, just where's my carrots?
Uh-huh.
Type of thing. And so I think the more you make a big deal of it, as like, hey, this is our group activity in a way,
Yes.
much easier.
Yes.
to get
It's
it
so
done.
cool. That actually brings me a lot of joy when the whole family is meal prepping together.
Yeah.
Like our kids are old enough now, they can do it. They can do all the things. They can
Yes.
use the knife and cut up the things, and use the grill and grill the chicken.
Yeah.
So it's actually, that happened a couple weeks ago where everybody was chipping in, and I was just like,
Because I feel like meal
this is
prepping
so
should be as
cool.
standard as doing the dishes, doing
Yeah.
your laundry. I
Yeah.
think people, especially now where we have a very convenient society,
yes.
where, you'll ask some people, what makes a good meal? And they're like, burger and fries. Like,
Right.
that's a good meal to them.
Yep.
But it's like, that was completely curated by, a restaurant, which is not bad necessarily. But in general, like you and I would probably say, like, meat, veggie, like meat in 2 sides, like meat, veggie. Like you can even think of literally the plate where it's got like, the 3 serving spots. But making sure like you kind of know what to throw in each one of those to make a full meal. And just realizing like this is a part of life, is like buying your food or finding your food, cooking and prepping it, and then eating it.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that blew my mind when not only cooking for just me and my wife, but specifically our 2 kids, like I spend a lot of time in the kitchen, like a lot, like
Yes.
probably 20 to 30% of my time at home is cooking of some sort, which I thoroughly enjoy.
Yeah.
But for someone who's never really done it, that can be intimidating. And there's a gentleman named Sean Stevenson. He wrote a book called Eat Smarter and one called Sleep Smarter. And what I really like about his cookbook that he ended up writing on the Eat Smarter aspect, he spent like 20 to 30% of that cookbook was kind of like a how-to manual on how to create a good kitchen culture, is what he calls it.
Yeah.
And I think if you go to other countries who prioritize like Italians we know make all their own pasta and stuff. Like, those moms and grandmas are like cooking all day, it seems like, but
Yes.
they're like literally cooking it start to finish. And if we can take pieces of that, bring our whole family together, like that becomes the family hobby, is like making sure we're feeding ourselves nutritiously.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I do want to let you know that all the stuff that you talk about here in clinic, excuse me, does roll over. You're a great role model for these things. And it helps me kind of know what to do for myself and my family. And how to implement those things, especially because you've got a 10-year head start on kids ultimately. So it gives me some stuff to follow. But I want to go and wrap things up for today. But before we do, when we talk about our 4 pillars, stress management, quality sleep, food, and then also hydration, if you don't mind, give me 1 or 2 tips that you would like to leave with everybody on all of those pillars, one of the pillars, whatever you'd like. What are the biggest levers that the average person you think could pull in that talk of 4 pillars?
I mean, the one that I think is most important is sleep and getting enough sleep, having a consistent bedtime routine, going to bed at the same time, getting up about the same time throughout the week. I think that's so important just for our brain to repair, our body to repair, just to recover from all the things that happened the day before. If you're working out hard, you definitely need to be sleeping. Even if you're not working out hard, you need to be sleeping. And that's another thing I think we do for our kids, is show them like sleep is important. We're going to bed at this time. Like we get up and we work out. Like we're trying to show them that. So yeah, make it like doing what you can. And that's hard. It's really hard to shut off the screens. It's really hard to stop scrolling. It's hard to take your phone and put it in another room and not have it next to your bed while you're sleeping. It's hard to, just shut down, right? That's an important one. Stress management. I will say I was a ball of stress for all those years that I was a teacher.
The 13 years that
the 13 years that I was teaching. I would say 11 of those 13. There was one year in there where we got to break away a little bit, and I learned that we did a year of travel where I homeschooled our kids, but I learned that, oh my gosh, if you get a good night of sleep and you're not chronically stressed, life is so much better, and you feel like you're not crazy, and you can handle everything that gets thrown at you during the day. You can choose much better food options, right? Because your hormones are kind of like where they need to be. And so that was super eye-opening for me. So if you're a person who's chronically stressed, you have a high-stress job and it's hard to turn your brain off, you've got to start implementing some strategies to bring your nervous system back to baseline and get out of fight or flight mode. Otherwise, everything else in your body is not going to function the way it should. And so
I call it for people to say like, okay, if you're going to keep doing this high-stress thing every day, we need to provide you an antidote.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the day, that's going to do the opposite. Generally, I'll recommend meditating, but even for me, like that's very, very hard.
Yep.
So I'll tell them there needs to be an equivalent that like skyrockets you the other way of like de-stress. Like you said, like, going on a walk with no phone. Like you need something that's in the opposite, hopefully equal and opposite.
Right.
Realm of stress to where it's like your mind goes completely the other direction.
Yes. Walking is a good option there. The thing that works for me really well, if I notice, like if I'm laying in bed and I can't calm my brain down, it's either writing my thoughts out, like, oh, okay, I have this to-do list for tomorrow. I need to get it down on paper so it's out of my head. Or if it's not necessarily a to-do list and I just can't identify like why I'm feeling anxious, I really love the box breathing technique where you breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, breathe out for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts. And I just do that on repeat until I feel myself calm down. That's a really good way just to kind of, you can do that in the middle of your workday too. If you're having a really high stress time, like before you go eat lunch, do some breathing and relax, and then eat lunch without scrolling and checking your email and all of that.
Dedicate yourself, like give yourself that time to be disconnected.
Yes.
Ultimately. But
absolutely.
I really like, I would call it like microdosing stuff throughout the day. I think people discredit how powerful that can be.
Yep.
It's like so easy and so quick, like it probably doesn't do anything is usually the thoughts that I get from people. But if you just like set reminders on your phone or have cues like, oh, it's lunchtime. Oh, let me just like 4 rounds of, box breathing.
Yes.
Knock it out. Like you'd be amazed, but 2 or 3 times of that will do for you, your
Absolutely.
body, and your brain ultimately.
Yeah. And if you pair it with something you're already doing, that just helps make it stick a little bit easier.
For sure.
Yeah.
So if someone listened today and they were like, you know what, I'm going to take my health seriously, and I want to go and come see Beka and do some sort of nutrition consult, how can they get that set up, or where can they find you, whether it be social media, website? How should they reach out?
They can definitely call Natural Wellness Physiotherapy or go to our website. You can book a nutrition consult online.
Okay.
You just go up to the top right corner, book now. Or you can call us on Instagram. I'm Natural Wellness Nutrition. Same with Facebook. Or you can just, if you call into Natural Wellness Physiotherapy, we can, we'll get connected.
Okay. How many hundreds or thousands of dollars is it to talk to you? Just for 30 minutes?
It's free.
Oh,
$0. I like to make sure that it makes sense for us to work together. And so, I like to have a conversation with people and make sure that I'm the person that can help them before we move forward with any kind of plans. So
perfect.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Well, Beka, thank you for coming on. I'll put out a poll at some point in time, and we'll probably have some more hot topics to discuss. But guys, this is Beka. She is our nutrition coach here at Natural Wellness Physiotherapy. She fills a lot of gaps here at our clinic for when someone needs help nutritionally to help the recovery process, and it's who we send people to. So hopefully you learned one or multiple things today about nutrition, or at least got some thoughts kind of straying around on how to implement some better, healthier lifestyles for you and your family. Beka, thank you again for coming on. It was a great time, and hopefully everybody here learned a little bit more how to heal without harm. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Clayton.